Time now for an in-depth look at the market news today, and for that I'm joined on the line by Dr. Soo-young, professor of business at Chung-Ang University. Dr. Song, thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, my pleasure, and thank you for inviting me again.
Sure. Well, the U.S. Trade Representative has announced that it'll soon start accepting applications for companies that want an exemption from the 15% tariff on Chinese goods that took effect last month. Has there been much of a market reaction to this, and what's your outlook for the global economy in the near term?
Actually, the delay of the impose of the tariff, what was scheduled in October 15th was delayed. So I think that is a really good news, and particularly the U.S. importers from China actually have submitted some tariff exemption as early as October, and almost most of the companies have suffered from the tariff imposed on the Chinese imports because those companies cannot find some other alternative sources to import. So, to that regard, I think that is not only beneficial to the domestic manufacturing companies in U.S., and also it could be accepted as a kind of some hospital-friendly signal to our outlook of the world trade for the upcoming years.
It's interesting that story did not make huge news internationally, but it's an important story potentially. Now, as we just heard, President Trump and others have brought up the question of whether certain countries, including South Korea, should really be classified at the WTO as developing countries, considering their status today. And now, South Korea's trade minister said a decision on that status could come soon. What would happen if Korea were to give up its developing status and be recognized as a developed country?
Yeah, actually, I look into WTO and I find actually Korea, WTO does not classify the officially at all. Only the World Bank and the other some institutions classify Korea as developed countries or the high-income countries. But however, the WTO has offered some preferential treatment particularly during the transition period from some less developed into developing and then finally developed countries. So Korea is in the process of the transition from the developing to developed countries. Korea has requested, as far as I know, requested some special preferential treatment for the rice industry, agricultural area economy in Korea. So it is accepted. It was accepted, but however, because particularly the Korean government has imposed almost a 513% tariff on the rice, so that provides a huge protection for the Korean farmers who particularly specialize in rice production. However, as the consumption of the rice has been declining for the past several decades, and also particularly the U.S. President put the pressure on, he would like to open the rice market in Korea because for the American farmers who grow rice to export rices to the Korean market. So to that regard, I think Korea is going to anyway accept the pressure and then make up some kind of compensation for opening the agricultural rice market to the U.S. and other countries. So I think the U.S. and other countries such as Vietnam and some countries is interested in, but this may be not a big deal in lieu of the current trade dispute and trade issue. So anyway, I think it's better to move out of these developing country status because that would be beneficial for the Korea when out in economic status in WTO, we are already treated and as developed countries. So I think that would be better to withdraw.
Well, it's a fascinating question, but to move on to South Korean domestic issues, the National Assembly started deliberation on next year's supersized budget of 513 trillion won, about $440 billion. Some say this could strain the government's finances. Others say it's not a problem. What do you think?
If that is a problem to Korean economy and the Korean government, then already we are going to see so many countries, government that already have suffered from some strain of the government deficit on the particularly the GDP percentage against the government debt percentage of the GDP. So to that regard, the IMF and all the other world renowned institutions point out that particularly South Korea has been very healthy and robust in terms of the government budget or the deficit. Therefore, right now we are in the position that declining economic growth rate, that is mainly due to some worldwide declining trade and particularly because of the U.S. and China trade dispute. So consequently, we have no other tools to buttress and to rejuvenate the economic growth rate, but fiscal policy. So as long as our economy and the status is strong enough, why not use that tool to promote and to rejuvenate the economic growth rate? So I don't think that is the political rhetoric to blame the increase of the government deficit. However, the good government should give more than they take away from the people. So that naturally entails that the government deficit should be increased. Otherwise, it means that as long as government behave as if some profit-seeking entrepreneur or enterprise, then they are going to take levy taxes more than they could return.
So bottom line, the South Korean government can handle it. Sounds like that's the consensus.
Sure.
All right, Dr. Song, thanks so much for coming on today. We appreciate your insights.
Thank you.